Hey everybody, welcome to Wellness Wednesday. Was taking my computer a couple of minutes to get the internet connection going, so sorry I am a minute or two late. Let's begin without further ado. Come on into Child's Pose. So take your choice of how you want to be in Child's Pose. Maybe you want your knees together and your arms alongside your body, palms facing up, also known as restorative child's pose or bija pose. And bija means seed, and it's a nice time of year to think about seeds. Finally in Colorado, things are starting to bloom. I know, probably like you, I've been seeing posts of people who live in other places, and spring sprung a while ago, and I've been really jealous of the pink flowers and the trees, and finally here things are starting to bloom. So perhaps taking the seed pose version or any other version of child's pose you like. And speaking of being outside, I just took a quick walk before starting this, and it rained here. I don't know about you guys, it was a beautiful sunny warm day, and then all of a sudden it rained for a little while, and on my walk I could smell some of the essences that the earth releases, that the trees release when the water hits them. And I especially love that sort of honey smell that comes from the pine trees after it rains. And it got me kind of thinking about appreciating what is, and being able to be present in the moment with what is. It's not always ideal, but it is what's there anyway, whether we like it or not. And so how do we do our best to be less reactive, to be less judgmental, and to be more accepting and show up? Krishnamurti talked about the key to happiness is I don't mind whatever happens. Right? Which sounds weird almost. But when you think about it, right, I don't mind whatever happens. It just is. In psychology, we call that being differentiated. It just is, and I can roll with it. It's harder to cultivate. Well, you probably know it's a lot harder to cultivate than it might seem. But the best that we can do is try. And like everything else in life, including our yoga practice, if we're giving it an honest try, if we're giving it our honest effort, what more can we really do? What more can we ask of ourselves? We can use our yoga practice to help with cultivating that non-judgment. We're going to play around with what lies around the corner of a yoga pose, what lies just beyond a pose, and I'll explain that more in a moment. But for now, breathe really mindfully and purposefully into your back. If you're in either version, whatever version of child's pose, notice how the breath fills up your lungs on the inhale. Then notice perhaps your exhale closer to your face. Just noticing whatever's showing up for you right now, and beginning to drop into that space of yoga, that space of non-judgment, a space of curiosity. And if your arms are alongside your body, extend them out in front of you into an extended child's pose. And everybody, tuck your toes, lift your knees off the floor, and come on into downward facing dog. Plant your hands firmly on the ground. Have your feet be, rock forward into high plank. And adjust so that your hands are directly over your shoulders. And then without moving your hands or feet, shift your hips back, push into your hands, and come on into down dog again. So this is a nice stable distance for your down dog, but it may not be the right distance for you. So perhaps you want to increase the challenge by walking your feet back a little bit. That's going to lessen the stability of this shape. Maybe you want to increase the stability of the shape. Maybe you want to allow your heels to sink further toward the ground, and so you would walk your feet up more. But you want to, wherever you are, sometimes for a lot of people, walking your feet up brings a curve into your back. And in down dog, you want to be an inverted V. You want to have your back as flat as possible. So thinking about pushing into your hands and lifting from your hips while you continue to allow your heels to sink. And it doesn't matter if your heels touch the ground. Some people's will, some people's never will. But it's still about, for everybody, getting that stretch in the back of your legs. And take a bunch of baby steps. Walk to the top of your mat. And hang and ragdoll. Allowing your back to round when your back asks you to do so. Keep your knees bent when you get to the top of the mat if that feels better for the back side of your body. Whatever you do throughout this whole practice, let the breath be your guide. Let the breath be the most important thing here. In this forward fold, allow your head to be heavy. Allow your neck to be soft. Noticing whatever's showing up for you. That rain that came in gave I got like a high pressure system in my head right now. So hanging upside down definitely feels different than it does other days. Can you notice without judging? I mean, you may say this is uncomfortable, but what if we could even step away from that? What if we could even just notice a sensation without attaching good or bad, comfortable or uncomfortable to it? Well, up to standing, maybe with soft knees. That's what's most appropriate for most people, but it may not be for you. You be the judge of it. And then when you get to standing, roll your shoulders up, back, and down a couple of times. Maybe roll your neck around. In fact, everybody roll your neck around. Go to one side. And notice, become aware of the sensations that come up with that. When you get to center, reverse direction. Try to keep your shoulders soft. But sometimes people lift their shoulders a little bit to cradle their necks. Come on back to center, chin down, and then lift your chin up. And if you did lift your shoulders at all to cradle your neck, allow your shoulders, one more time, roll them up, purposefully by your ears back and then down. Shine your palms forward. Lift your kneecaps, engage your quadriceps, shine your palms forward. Breathe, and then inhale your arms up. Grab your left wrist with your right hand and exhale over. Side stretch. Inhale back up. Switch sides. Grab your right wrist with your left hand and pull up and over. Inhale back up. Separate your arms. Squeeze your elbows together by your sides. Open your heart. Lift your arms back up and then bow forward fold. Some flowing sun A's, halfway lift. Put your hands down on the mat and step back, high plank. Lower halfway or all the way, chaturanga, or laying on the floor. Upward facing dog is an inhale, and then exhale, downward facing dog. Land in down dog, breathe in down dog, recommit to the shape that your body's in, recommit to being present through this practice. Look up to the top of your mat and step your right foot to meet your right hand, followed by your left. Do your best, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold with a flat back. Rise up all the way to standing. Bring your hands together overhead. And bring your hands into your heart. Inhale. Exhale and lift your arms again. And then bow. Come on up halfway. Try to keep your back flat, which includes your neck. Forward fold. Step back to high plank. Lower. Lift. Heart open. Shoulders back. Exhale. Come on to downward facing dog. Inhale and exhale here. Look in between your hands. Step your left foot to meet your left hand. Followed by your right. Halfway lift. Forward fold. Sweep your arms up. Rise. Bring your hands together. And pull that beautiful energy into your heart. And then with heart energy, lift your arms up again. Forward fold. Halfway lift. Put your hands down and step your right foot back, followed by your left high plank. Lower. Make your way to downward facing dog. Inhale and exhale and down dog. Look in between your hands and make your way to the top of your space. Halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Sweep up, standing. Hands together overhead. Hands into your heart. Inhale your arms up. Dive forward. Or you can always do hands through heart center. But try to keep your back flat until your hamstrings tell you to bend it. Halfway lift. Come on up. Hands down, this time step back with your left foot. Followed by your right and make your way to downward facing dog. Breathe in downward facing dog. Landing here in this shape, in this moment. Doing your best not to compare, not to judge, just to be. Just to be here and notice what you notice. Maybe you focus on your breath. And when you do notice whatever it is that you notice, become aware as well of the judgment that may accompany that, right? If your arms are shaking, can it just be my arms are shaking without, oh, I'm so weak, or what's going on, or whatever it is that's coming into your mind, and we become aware. That's what we do throughout our practice. We increase our awareness, and we try to place ourselves in these difficult moments, like this one, this nice long hold of downward facing dog, and become aware of what comes up, and try to meet that with non-judgment. And with non-reactivity, with equanimity. Look in between your hands and make your way to the top of your space. Halfway lift, inhale. Exhale, forward fold. Bend your knees, rise, Utkatasana chair pose. So Utkatasana is not a back bend, so maybe take a little bit of the curve out of your back by tucking your tailbone. And then maybe sink a little bit lower. Maybe your biceps are by your ears. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Fold and step back. High plank position. Lower chaturanga. Upward facing dog to downward facing dog. And lift your right leg up. Bend your knee, open up your hip, whatever feels good here. Bring your leg back up. Step it through, low lunge. Spin, and you know what? Keep your left heel up. Keep your left hand on the ground and lift up your right arm for a twist. You can pop up on your fingertips if you want here. You can have your fingertips on the block, or your neck. Can be wherever feels good for your neck. Maybe you look up at your right thumb, but maybe that doesn't feel good. In which case, don't do it. Keep breathing. Try not to grind into your left shoulder. And when I said whatever feels good, I noticed, right? It's such a part of our language. We're still in the twist. It's such a part of our language to assign meaning. Okay, come on down with your right hand. Stay on your left toes and rise up for Crescent Lunge. Bring your right hip crease back and your left hip point forward a little bit. Sink into your right knee. Make a choice with your left knee. Do you want it bent or straight? But even if your knee is bent, be reaching through your left heel. And then spin your back foot flat. Adjust your feet if necessary. Warrior two. Reaching forward. Sinking into your right knee, allowing your right inner thigh to be working. Your right inner thigh is keeping your knee tracking out. Maybe again here your neck is, your gaze is forward if your neck permits. And then windmill your hands down. Step back, high plank to chaturanga. Upward facing dog to downward facing dog. Lift your left knee up, left leg up. Bend your knee. You know what to do. Bring your leg back up. Bring your left knee through, low lunge. Keep your right hand down. Left arm up, twist. So our neck is going to be different on both sides. It may feel better. It may feel not as good to look up at your hand. So one of the things, right, there's a difference between non-judgment and trying to step out of that good-bad dichotomy and injuring yourself because you're pushing too hard. So that's not what we're doing. So if it hurts your neck to look up, please don't. But if there's just a little bit of discomfort, then maybe that's that beautiful space where you get to play around with being somewhere uncomfortable without panicking, without reacting in an oversized way. Bring your left hand down, rise up, crescent. Bring your left hip crease back, your right hip point forward. Maybe your right knee is bent, your left knee is definitely bent. Pushing back through your left heel. A bend in the back knee is going to help with taking pressure out of your low back if you feel it. And if you don't feel it, maybe you keep your knees straight here. Open up warrior two, adjusting your feet as necessary. Left inner thigh working to keep your left knee tracking outward. Arms are actively reaching front and back, torso centered, spine upright. You're neither leaning forward nor back, but your arms are reaching. And then windmill down. High plank, make your way to downward facing dog. Breathe. Inhaling and exhaling. It's a lot more humid, at least where I am, than it normally is in Colorado. So can you just be with that? It's humid. Is humidity good or is humidity bad? One of the reasons I feel like I practice yoga is to put myself in these challenging situations. Ooh, here we are in downward facing dog again. This pose feels a lot like home base when you've been practicing for a while, but it's still a challenging pose, a lot of muscular engagement. We put ourselves in these positions where we maybe get a little bit uncomfortable. Maybe we stay in a pose a little bit longer than we like. But then we get to see what's around the corner. Look in between your hands, make your way to the top of your space. Halfway lift, forward fold. Bend your knees, rise up, Utkatasana chair. Stand up, bring your hands together overhead, and pull your hands into your heart. Arms back up, back into chair. Forward fold. Halfway lift. Hands down, step back to high plank. Make your way to downward facing dog. From downward facing dog, lift your right leg up. Bring it through, not swing it through. Try to bring it through, low lunge. Spin your back foot flat and rise up, warrior one. Adjust, always adjusting your feet if that's something that you need to do in the shape. Trying to get your back foot flat, pinky edge side of your foot, the side that's on the outside there. Try to get that down as low as you can. And then open up. Warrior two. You might need to adjust your feet. It's easier to have your feet on a line in warrior two than it is in warrior one. Reach forward. Reach, reach, reach. And take whatever version of extended side angle you like here. Allow yourself in this portion of our practice to have a little bit more freedom maybe. To adjust, to move your feet around more than you normally would. Experiment. See what feels good. Bring your bicep by your ear, palm facing the floor. And actively reach from that edge of your left foot through your left fingertips. Maybe feeling it through the whole left side of your body. And then come on up, warrior two. Straighten your right knee for a moment. We're just giving it a break. Rebend your right knee. Flip your right palm. And reverse your warrior. You're going to have your left hand coming down your left leg. You can have your left hand behind your back, giving a little oomph to your shoulder opening there. Reaching your right knee forward and your right fingertips back. And then make your way to downward facing dog. Moving slowly and deliberately. Vinyasa means to place with care. Lift your left leg up and with care. Bring it through, not swing it through, and with care, place it down. Spin your right foot flat. Virabhadrasana 1. First warrior. Making the adjustments. Giving yourself that little bit more freedom, that little bit maybe permission to experiment here. Oh, I've never moved my foot out before. What if you tried it? And then open up, warrior two. Find it, commit to it. Your shoulders are active, but not up by your ears. Your triceps, those muscles in the backs of your arms, are engaged, helping to lift your arms up. Flip your palms up and notice perhaps how that shifts your shoulder blades on your back. And then keep that openness in your shoulder blades and turn your palms back down. Reach forward, extended side angle. Maybe start with your hand up. I said whatever version you like, and then I gave some instructions, so do what you like here. But maybe if your arm is up, you reach it now, bicep by your ear, and really get some stretch, some active stretch from the edge of your right fingertips to your right toe. And then come on back up, warrior two. Straighten your left knee just to take a little break. Rebend your left knee, reverse warrior. Right hand, maybe down your leg, maybe behind your back. Left knee reaching forward, left fingertips reaching back. Go for it. Get it while you can. Windmill down. Step back, high plank. Chaturanga. Upward facing dog. Downward facing dog. Drop to your knees. Walk a little bit forward on your mat Dhanurasana Hero's Pose. Separate your heels wider than your hips. Drop your feet down, or your butt down in between your feet. And begin to walk back. You know where to go. So we're going to do some timed poses, and this is going to be one of our first timed poses. This is going to be 2 minutes, okay? So if you're feeling like, wow, that's a long time to be in this shape, then maybe take a less extreme version of it. So perhaps you come up. Maybe you don't normally sit on a block, but you want to today. Or maybe you don't normally have your hands in front of you, but you want to today. And I'll give you guys a little, actually let's do it just for a minute and a half. I'll tell you when we're at 30 seconds and then another 30 seconds. So Baron Baptiste, who's one of my formative teachers, says that a yoga pose begins at exactly the moment when we want to get out of it. Now what does that mean? So hopefully we're not blowing past our limits, right? It doesn't mean a yoga pose begins when my cartilage pops or my hamstring rips. What I think that he means is a yoga pose begins when the discomfort, like, oh, okay, I've been here for long enough, I want to get out of this shape now. And what I want us to do today, oops, I forgot to be giving you a time. All right, we're actually past the first 30 seconds. We got about 15 seconds to go. Now look what happens when I get talking. Okay, so breathe for these next 15 seconds. But right when we want to get out of a shape is when we can start to get curious about our own reactivity, about our own fidgetiness. Come on up if you're down. And gently make your way to a hands and knees position. You're there for a while, so give yourself a little bit more time than you normally would to get out of this position and come into hands and knees. And then shake it out. Lift your right leg and bend your knees. Shake it a little bit, whatever direction feels good. Same with your left leg. Shake it out a little bit. Put your knees down and stand up on your knees. Stand up on your knees. Camel pose. Bring your hands to your back. So in camel, when I started practicing, when I still practice, sometimes people will say, as if you have your hands in your back pockets, so you're kind of touching the top of your butt there. But for me, that doesn't prevent overbending in my low back. So what I like to do, hands can face up or down, is to have my hands over my low back crease. Okay, so that I'm reminding myself to lift up. Sometimes I even have my hands on my rib cage and lift. It's important in this shape to keep your knees over your hips. So even if you want to, okay, so go, right? Lift up. If your hands are on your back in whatever way, push into your back, lift up, squeeze your elbows toward each other, and begin to trace your gaze across the ceiling. If you want to, try to grab onto your heels. And if grabbing onto your heels, you need to lean back a little bit, that's okay. In your heart, back bends are heart openers. Don't go beyond your limits. So again here, right, finding that humility, finding what works for you, not pushing past it. And sometimes, come on up everybody, and sit down on your knees. We're going to do one more. So for right now, sit on your knees and stay upright. Sometimes that discomfort, that uncomfortable place is my mind wants to go further than my body feels willing to do today. So there's another area for just getting curious, right? Getting curious. Okay, stand back up on your knees and go right on into camel. Keeping the alignment, right? The second time Our bodies are, oh yeah, we've been here a minute ago, but sometimes, for me especially, this shape, now actually most back bends, when I go into it a second time, I notice a little tweakiness in my low back, and that's a sign I went too far. And for me, that's usually about my ego, trying to open up the upper back. And then come on up. This time, bring your hands to the floor in front of you, step your feet back, high plank, lift your hips up, downward facing dog. Look in between your hands and make your way to the top of your space. Halfway lift, inhale. Exhale, forward fold, bend your knees, Utkatasana. Stand up, bring your hands to your heart. Lift your arms up, Utkatasana. Forward fold. Halfway lift, lengthen. Exhale, take it back to high plank, to downward facing dog. You can always just step back to down dog. You can skip high plank if that starts to feel too much. Step your right foot forward, spin your back foot flat, warrior one. Clasp your hands behind your back. Squeeze your shoulder blades together. Open up your heart. Oh, bow, forward fold, bow, humble warrior. Right shoulder inside of your right knee. Let your head be heavy. Try to keep your left or right hip in, not going out too far. Rise back up. Warrior one. Warrior two. Straighten your leg, and this time we are going to move into Trikonasana triangle. Reach forward, getting length on both sides. That's why we do the reach. And then when you can't reach anymore, tilt. Bottom hand can act as leverage to roll your heart open. So what would you need to do? We're not going to stay in this pose for the rest of the practice. But if we did, what would you need to do to make it tolerable for yourself? To step out of that, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, and move back into easy breath, steady breath. Move back into presence, and then come on up. Turn your feet parallel. One more time, clasp your hands behind your back. Open up your heart. And bow. Wide-legged forward fold, letting your hands come overhead, off your back, as high as they'll go. Feet are parallel or perhaps a little bit pigeon-toed. Trying not to get too worked up about what's on your floor. If you were like, oh my goodness, I thought I swept earlier and it doesn't look it at all, then just okay, acknowledge. Come on back. With a flat back, rise up. Warrior two to the front. Reverse warrior. Windmill down. Make your way to downward facing dog. And when you get to down dog, step your left foot forward, spin your right foot flat. Warrior one. Clasp your hands again behind your back. Possibly, if you remember what grip you took, take opposite grip. Squeeze your shoulder blades together. Open up your heart. Bow with humility. Humble warrior. Left shoulder inside of your left knee. Neck relaxed. Left hip coming in a bit, and then rise back up. Warrior one to warrior two. Straightening your left knee. Reach, reach, reach. Tilt. Trikonasana. So again, won't be the rest of this hour. but it might be a little bit longer than we normally hold it. All right, so we don't always choose the situations we find ourselves in life, but we can, the more we bring awareness to it, choose how we respond to those situations. All right, rise back up. Turn your feet parallel or pigeon-toed again. Tee your arms out, or you can clasp them behind your back, whatever you like. Squeeze your shoulder blades together, open your heart, and bow prasarita. If your arms are wide, you can walk them between your legs, palms down. You can grab on your big toes, you can grab on your heels. Rise back up. Warrior 2. Reverse. And down. High plank. Low plank. Upward facing dog. Downward facing dog. Rock forward. Lay all the way down, slowly. Untuck your toes, turn your head to the right, left ear on the mat. Let your arms be long by the sides of your body and just allow yourself to relax for a moment and breathe. A little bit more heart opening and back bending to come here in just a moment. And that moment is now. Turn your head to the front. Flip your palms to face the earth and clasp your hands behind your back. Actually, we're going to do bound locust. When you are ready, lift whatever you can. But remember, right, we're not just going for that crease in the low back. Try to really lift behind your heart, the thoracic spine, which is really difficult to access. So part of the way we can get out of our low back here is by reaching crown of the head forward, feet back, so getting length as well. And then release, you guys. You gotta get it while you can, right, in some of these. And then turn your head to the left, right ear on the mat. Maybe rock your hips left to right a little bit. Being kind to your neck. So being kind to your neck in this shape can mean a couple of different things, right? We got to give our neck some love. We got to move them around. We need to help keep them supple. But again, we don't want to push beyond our body's capability right now. The goal is sustainability. Sustainability. The goal is to want to come back to the mat again. Not push so hard this time that you don't want to be on your mat for another 6 months. Head to the center again. Just one more shape here, called Dhanurasana Bow Pose. Bend your knees. Grab your feet from the outsides. And when you have gotten into position, kick and lift. Maybe allowing the breath to rock you slightly forward and back. And so Kundalini Yoga actually has you rocking back and forth. So if you want to play with that, you can. Some schools of yoga say don't move in this shape. Whatever you like. Why not be a little playful sometimes? And then release. Bring your hands underneath your shoulders. Push up. Hands and knees, and then push back into a child's pose. Child's pose is a nice counter pose to a lot of these back bends. So just allow your back to round here in the opposite direction. Breathe into whatever it is that's showing up. Come on up, downward facing dog. Lift your right leg up. Step it through, low lunge. Drop your back knee. Come on up. Wow, time's going by and I want to do some long holds. So drop your back knee and let's just move right into a twist. Left elbow to the outside of your right knee. The longer holds we're going to do from here on out are pretty much seated. Okay, from this twist, this isn't exactly seated, but it is on the floor. Runner's lunge. Toe heel your right foot up, and we'll hold this for, let's say, 2 minutes, okay? Around the clock. And I will definitely give you warnings here, not warnings, but you know, a 1 minute time check. How about? So there's different versions of this. You can slide your right shoulder underneath your right knee if that's in your body's capability. If you've ever heard, you've run a marathon, or maybe not even run a marathon, but you might have heard the expression a marathon begins at mile 20, right? And it's the same thing. It's that when, not that running 20 miles is easy, but it's that last 6, right? When we really begin to push, we go beyond what we've prepared for. We go beyond what we usually do. And that's when things get interesting. 1 minute here, 1 more minute to go. So be present. Be present with as open, as non-judgmental of a mind as you can. See what shows up. Just be curious. And you know, in that curiosity also brings some compassion. You're not trying to be mean to yourself. You need to see what shows up. The psychiatrist and philosopher Viktor Frankl said, in between stimulus and response is a space. And in that space lies our freedom. I think in between stimulus and response, there's a space. And in that space we make a choice, and in that choice is our freedom, or something like that. All right, that's 1 minute here. So come on up, bring your leg behind you, hands and knees, or plank, and then come on up, downward facing dog, and then just go right into step your left foot forward, drop your right knee, untuck your right toes, rise up, crescent moon. Hands to your heart, left side twist, right elbow outside of left knee. Just a couple of breaths here. In between stimulus and response, there's a space, is really the important part. But in between stimulus and response, I think there's something else that Viktor Frankl doesn't mention. Come on, unwind into runner's lunge. And what he doesn't mention, we're on the clock for 2 minutes, is that there's the stimulus, and right after stimulus we have a reaction, right? The immediate thing that comes to our mind is a reaction, like, oh my God, I can't believe that happened, or what a jerk, or, you know, maybe the person was a jerk, but is that what you want to come out of your mouth? And so we need to breathe, we need to create that space in order to choose our response, right? So we move from reaction into response. Reaction is automatic, we're not judging it, even if it's not something you're proud of, but that's the reaction you had. So it doesn't help you to be mean to yourself, but if it's not what you want to lead with, if that's not in keeping with the person that you want to be in the world, your reaction, then you choose your response, right? But we need to find the space. 1 minute right now, guys. And so our yoga practice gives us that a space, a place to yoga practice gives us a place to begin finding that space. And so when we hold these poses a little bit longer than we want, and we start looking around the corner, that's where we notice. We can begin to notice, when I begin to get uncomfortable, here's what shows up for me. And you just get curious. And you have some compassion and some kindness for yourself. And you can be calm. We practice calm, curiosity, compassion in noticing. All right, that is time here. So come on up. Back onto hands and knees or high plank. Lift your hips, downward facing dog, and walk your hands to meet your feet at the back of your mat. We're not going to hold this for too long, but let's take a gorilla. Slide your hands palms up underneath your feet, knees as bent as they need to be, neck is soft. Take a little bit of a halfway lift here, just looking to get length in your spine, doesn't matter how high you go. And fold, fold. So you know what you could do here, right? We can work on bending the elbows out to the sides. You can work on straightening the legs. You can work on staying calm if this is already a lot. We're not looking to push beyond what your body can do, but we do want to get sensation. So if you go into a shape and you're like, ooh, I have sensation, then you're there. But if you're not feeling much of anything except maybe your hands underneath your feet, then you take it a little bit further. One is not better than the other. One is just more appropriate for different bodies. And if we were all in the same room together, I think it would be pretty obvious that none of us have the same body. Take your feet out from underneath your hands and roll up. And so since none of us have the same body, let's do, come on to, I don't know, it doesn't matter where you come to on your mat, but I want to do at least one balancing pose. We're going to do Utthita Hasta Padangusthasana. So shift your weight into your left leg and hug your right knee into your chest. You may stay right here. Notice if you're sinking into your left hip, and if you are, stand up straighter. You may stay right here. You may reach for your right big toe, grab it. Keep your spine tall. So you might have to grab your big toe and then stand back up again. And if you can, extend your leg out. So you want to have your spine being tall be the primary action in this position. All right, so you do want to go for a straight leg, but you don't want to go for a straight leg at the expense of a tall spine. So a bent knee is fine. If you had a strap, which I didn't cue you guys to have a strap, that would be good too. All right, now bring your knee or your toe out to the right. And you extend your left arm out to the left, and maybe look over your left thumb. Come on back center. Extend your leg, both arms up, both arms up. Don't lean back if you can. Standing straight up, your leg doesn't have to be high. And then put your right leg down. Make a couple circles with your hips to work that out. And then, that just reminded me of a children's show that I used to watch when I was a kid, which that's enough said about that. Shift your weight into your right foot. Hug your left knee in. Shift out if you kind of were leaning into your right hip. Stand up more. And then maybe you go for grabbing your toe. You will have a different experience on this side. And then bring your left leg out to the left. Left, look right. Maybe follow your right thumb. Bring your leg back center. Straighten your knee as best as you can. Reaching your arms up. Doesn't matter how high. You lift your leg and then release. Come to the top of your mat. Inhale your arms up. Forward fold. Halfway lift. Step back, high plank. And from high plank, make your way to downward facing dog. And right knee forward pigeon. This is going to be another, I wanted to do a 3-minute hold on this, but I got a little carried away with talking and wanting to throw in some other shapes. So a 2-minute hold. And we've done 2-minute holds before, but try on this one, but try to be present with what's showing up for you today. Try to let your head rest. So if your head doesn't rest comfortably on the floor, then perhaps you stack your fists or one palm on top of the other. Letting your brain rest, sending a message to your body that while you may be getting a pretty big stretch in this very big joint, very big muscles, you don't have to panic. Your head can rest. Your neck isn't being held up, right? We're at about one minute through here. So think about your nervous system is housed along your spine. And your neck is part of your spine. If you want to shift a little bit, take it a little bit deeper, go ahead and do that. Keep your breath flowing. How's your jaw? Are you clenching your teeth? Can you relax in any way here, more than you are already? Maybe you weren't relaxed at all. And so if my suggestion was like, oh my God, I'm not relaxed. Just notice that and let that reaction go. And choose a response. Maybe, isn't that interesting? Look at how I showed up. It's very, very difficult to step away from that good or bad judgment, you know? All right. Sit over on your right hip. Swing your left foot around, and then bend your left knee, swing your right foot around. So just go right into pigeon on the other side. I want to get us to a couple other shapes before Shavasana today. So 2 minutes, go. It's very hard to step out of that dichotomous judgment of everything, good or bad. And this doesn't mean you don't like certain things better than others. It doesn't mean that everything is good for you. You know, what if you're allergic to a food? Well, then that food isn't a nutritious food for you to eat. It's not a beneficial food for you to eat, but that doesn't make it a bad food. Sure, we could think of a billion other examples. You know, it's funny, right? Speaking of food, when people are on weight loss diets, there is a lot of thought about good foods and bad foods. And when people eat good foods, they feel all proud of themselves, etc. We're at a minute here. But when people eat bad foods, quote bad foods, you know, then they feel they get into this negative space. And there's actually been research done, and this seems so crazy, but that people who eat unhealthy or less healthy food, but feel good about it, their bodies actually metabolize the food better than people who are eating that food and making themselves feel bad about it. So think about how fascinating that is. The power of our minds. So if you're going to eat, for me, my most favorite
unhealthy food is onion rings. If I'm going to eat a giant plate of onion rings, why not do it with a sense of joy and a sense of permission and a sense of, wow, this is so yummy. All right, sit over onto your right hip. Come on up. Oh man, the time. Straddle, just without any further ado. Spread your legs as wide as you can and walk forward. Go as far down as your body will allow you. One more 2-minute hold here. So in this, for most of us, it's probably not that uncomfortable, but try to keep your back flat. Try to be reaching the crown of your head forward, elongating your spine. And for some people, that means not going down very far at all. And that's exactly where those people, maybe you, need to be. And there doesn't need to be judgment on it. And I promise you that in a 2-minute hold, you will soften into it. Because it actually takes your body about 1 minute to begin to unclench. So if you've never done a Yin Yoga class, Yang is the strength and Yin is the softness. If you've never done a Yin class, it tends to be more passive holds that are held for a long time. So you're not likely, I'm probably at a minute here, yeah, we're at a minute. You're not likely to work up a sweat, but you definitely are going to get the opportunity to see what lies around the corner from some of these shapes we put our bodies in. Vinyasa, those fast-moving classes, which I love, and I know a lot of you guys love, I've heard called busy yoga for busy people. And I love it, and I've had to slow down as I've gotten older, but I intend to continue to practice those strong power classes. But it's a real different kind of challenge to slow down. You know, those power classes keep us moving, so we don't have time to see what's around the corner. Sit up. Bring your feet together. If you turn sideways, turn back long way, and roll down. Roll down onto your back. Hug your knees in. Rock left to right. Keep your right knee in, left leg long, spinal twist. I'm not going to hold this, especially for time. Back to center. Both knees in, right leg long. Left knee across your chest. Across your body, wherever your knee is. Back to center. And Shavasana. Lay on your back. So unfortunately, we're not going to get to hold this one for as long as we would. Shavasana is a pose that often, if we had an hour and 15-minute class, we would definitely be holding Shavasana every single class for at least 5 minutes. So if you have the chance to extend your own Shavasana for even a few more minutes, and I would really encourage you to do so. Meditation is a beautiful place to see what shows up when our minds, when we stay, you know. Busy yoga for busy people. Busyness keeps us from needing to think. Sometimes people complain, oh, I'm bored. Well, what if boredom is the opportunity to be quiet and to settle in to that quietness? I'm going to leave you guys in Shavasana today. If you have time to stay longer in this shape, please do. Thank you so much for joining me for Wellness Wednesday. I hope that you can join me again sometime. Namaste.